Hello, and welcome to FML Fund My Life, a podcast brought to you by MyWallSt. My name is Nicole, and I'm the social media manager here at MyWallSt. And with me today, as usual, is my lovely co-host, Marie. He might recognize from Stock Club and is one of our top investment analysts here. So hi, Marie, how are you?
I'm good, Nicole. How are you? How are you dealing with the heat wave?
Yeah, this week is a lot better, actually. Like last week, it was 39 degrees in Portugal, so it was way too hot. How was it in Ireland?
I think my house got up to 27, which was,
Mhm.
but with the humidity, it feels like a swamp. Like
Yeah.
it's not nice. But yeah, 39 is quite hot for continental Europe. For our American listeners, 39 degrees is like 102 degrees Fahrenheit, which is
Oh, yeah.
it's a bit scorching. It's not exactly what you want.
Yeah, I like that you're so accommodating to our American listeners.
We
I actually never,
they have to
yeah,
be accommodated.
I never know when people say that, like, um,
Yeah.
100 and whatever degrees. I'm like, what is that? It's like when people say they're, their height in centimeters.
Yeah,
I'm
no idea.
like,
It's always such an
no
odd
idea.
figure because they're like, "Oh, it's 100 and I'm 165 centimeters." I'm like,
Oh, so
I
you don't
don't
use that?
know. We would do feet and inches because we use imperial measurements, which apparently the
Yeah.
UK is about to switch back to. They have
Hmm.
been using metric, and Boris Johnson, he proposed something like right before they tried to oust him from the government. He was like, "We need to go back to imperial units because we founded them." So
He's just trying to change everything, like, with that
yeah,
country.
yeah, I know. But they already use miles per hour, don't they, on their speed signs?
They do, yeah. I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
yeah.
So, how was your week on the stock market? Any big news?
Um,
Any news story
big
surprising you?
big news. We are right at the beginning of earnings season, which is always,
Mm.
exciting, challenging. It's always a bit stressful for us because we're trying to read multiple reports that are coming out. Beginning of earnings season tends to be kicked off with big tech tends to come out first. So Facebook is
Mhm.
today. I'm actually very interested to see how Facebook is doing. I have long been predicting the downfall of Facebook and Instagram in terms of advertisement revenue. So every
Yeah.
quarter that they release stuff, I'm always eagerly in there having a look around. Similarly, Google was released yesterday and Microsoft was released yesterday. And Google was showing also a difficulty in terms of advertisement revenue, which meant that the overall company missed revenue expectations for the quarter. It was very narrowly. It was by, only a couple tens of millions, which when you bring in $7 billion in a quarter isn't all that much.
Yeah.
But it's kind of what we're expecting to see. Consumers are cutting spending, marketing departments are cutting spending, and that means that there will just be less advertisement revenue floating around for
Mhm.
companies that are dependent on it. But never fear, because my all-time favorite, Costco, they have not yet released their quarterly report, but they did release their June sales figures, and their sales in June were up 20%, which, considering that people are starting to reduce discretionary spending, is very strong.
That is strong, yeah. You know what? Because you go on about Costco so much, I actually invested in it for the first time ever last week.
That is an excellent investment. I'm very proud of you. I love Costco, but you've never been in one, which is a shame.
Yeah.
You should find one to go into. Well, you actually need to find someone first who has a membership who can bring you in. It's like an exclusive club, and
You
then you
said
can have a look around.
there's one in Spain, you said on the
I
last
think there might
podcast
be someone in Spain because there are definitely some in the UK. Is there one in the north? We'll check now.
of Spain.
No, in Northern Ireland. I think there might be.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah,
No,
and you
I've never
can
heard of
go.
them.
You can sneak in. Just fun fact: you can sneak into Costco's so they have like two doors, and one is the in and one is the out. You can sneak in the outdoor if all you want to do is go to the food court, which I think is worthwhile. They have nice pizza. Um,
So you're not really sneaking in, you're allowed to do that.
I don't know. Are you allowed to do it? You just kind of make your way past the staff. Yeah, there's one in Madrid.
Oh, there's one in Madrid. Okay. I'll be in
Yeah,
Madrid. I have an uncle there. Okay.
there
I'll
you go.
go.
You go.
I'll look for someone with a membership.
Yeah,
Try
you
to
could just
sneak
like
into that thing.
loiter in the parking lot and just be like, "I've never been in a Costco before. Could you
Mm.
bring me with you?"
Spain's
Maybe.
so Spain's so laid back. I can imagine they're just like, yeah, go in, go in. No pasa
Yeah,
nada.
yeah. The only issue is you can't buy anything without a membership. They'll ask you for your membership card.
Oh
So
yeah. Well, I'll say I'm purely here for investment
for
research.
research purposes.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think
Just
that's fine.
invest. I'm a shareholder, so
Yeah, I actually did read that you get a free membership if you're a shareholder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, going on to tell you guys what this episode is about, it's all about NFTs. So if you did tune into episode 3 of FML, which was titled The Simple Life of NFTs, you would have caught our interview with Alex, who's an Irish NFT artist. She answered all of our questions about what it's like to be a designer and a trader in the NFT space, and spoke at length about the community aspect of NFTs and how these digital tokens are basically changing people's lives. So that episode was really good because it was all from the point of view of an artist who's very heavily involved in the community, and she talks about like the benefits of NFTs for artists. But in this episode, we're going to kind of talk about how they're like, if they're a good investment or not, and we're going to talk about some of the pros and cons, compare them a little bit to stock investment, and as well talk about how celebrity culture has influenced the market. Before we do, I think, Anne-Marie, you have a story about NFTs?
I have like an NFT related story, I suppose you could say, because as you know, when I do research for these pieces, specifically about NFTs, I tend to like to jump into some NFT discourse just to see what's going around, take the pulse of the community. I'm all about that in-depth research. Of course. But actually, a good story I have in relation to NFTs is, have you ever played the game Neopets when you were like a kid?
No. And when you said this to me earlier, I've never even heard of it. Have
you heard of Webkinz? Maybe?
No. I really wasn't a like computer kid.
Okay. Well, I was. And they were like these little like online societies. I would argue it was the first metaverse, might have been Neopets, and you like played games and you earned fake money. And you could actually you could like pay real money and get gift cards for the site and like load that in. And
it's kind of like Sims.
Kind of, yeah, except it was like all online. You could like interact with people, and like my parents would never ever buy me a gift card for the site, so I like I had to play the games to earn the money, which took forever, so long. But they would sell these like stupid digital token items that people wanted, and they would like sell them in auctions, and they were coconuts. Like little digital coconuts, and people wanted to collect these in our little Neopets metaverse. And I remember saving up all my little tokens and being like, right, I'm going to buy one of these rare coconuts. This is what we're going to do. And going to the auction. But Neopets auctions are rigged because, like if you go to an auction in real life and you like place down an offer. So like, you're like, oh, I bet 6,000 for that. And but then someone matches you or beats you and they offer 7,000. But then you don't pay any money, right? If you lose the auction, you don't pay money. In Neopets world, you pay money even if your bet loses.
That's like not an auction then, really.
I know, but they had like in this society, they were like, this is how auctions work. So I spent all my tokens trying to get this rare coconut, and then I lost the auction and didn't get it anyway, and still lost all my money. So that has just put a bad taste in my mouth about digital currencies and digital tokens.
So this is what you're against NFTs. It all goes back to this event.
Yep. So this is the foundation.
That's probably why you work for a stock investment company. It just explains everything.
Yep. So there you go. This is the foundation we will be building from in this episode. Just pure suspicion.
Okay. Well, speaking of spending a lot of money and maybe wasting it, let's talk about some of the most expensive NFTs that ever have been sold. So the first one is like by an artist called Pax, and it's called The Merge, and it sold for $91.8 million US dollars. And it basically just looks like a moon, kind of. It looks like space. It's really not that impressive. It's just like a black screen with 2 dots. Spheres. Yeah. It just looks like
the shading on the spheres, I guess, is.
Would you pay 91 million for it?
No, because I remember when I had to take Photoshop classes in high school, one of the like main exercises they do to make you good at Photoshop is they make you shade spheres. So, I mean, the shading is excellent, but it's not $91 million worth.
To be fair, one person did not pay that. It was actually bought by almost 29,000 different people, collectors, for a total of almost 100 million, and it became the most expensive one on December 2nd last year. So that was one, which I just think is ridiculous because it's so plain looking. But I do know that Pax artist, he's very famous. I've seen him come up like a few times when I was like researching the most expensive ones. But one that is actually really interesting, and I can see why it has become popular, is Every Days. It's like the first 5,000 days. And if you haven't seen it before, it's like loads of little tiny photos. And it does look really cool together, but it kind of would give me a headache as well because it's just like there's so much going on. I suppose you could zoom into all the different parts and see them.
Yeah. My thing is always, how do you display it? Do you know, like if you bought an NFT and you bought it because you really liked the art, would you like
Yeah.
install a monitor on your wall and then put your NFT on it so you could look at it? Because otherwise, I feel like the process is really difficult because you bought this piece of art, you really like it, you want to show it to someone. Like, then you have to like bring them into your home office and you're like, wait, I'll just load it up. And you have to like click in and load the file and then let them see it.
Well, it's also, it seems to be like a really, really expensive way to get a nice Twitter photo as well. People just put it as their Twitter profile photo. Like, was it Drake that did that? Or Travis Scott?
There's a load of celebrities that are now like are buying NFTs to use them because Twitter added the NFT integration where it like shows as a different, the border is a different color if it's an official NFT. A lot of celebrities have been doing that, and it's just a bit.
Well, the kind of thinking behind the first 5,000 days was that people, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, sorry, NFT fans. So starting from 2007, he agreed to like create one piece of art every day, and then this was the result. And it's also, the last I checked, it's the most expensive NFT to be sold to one owner. So one person did pay almost 70 million for that, which is crazy. And there's also some crazy ones where it's just like, you know, like a blurred person. You know, those ones, I think they're crazy. The Bored Ape ones, they also go for crazy money.
Yeah, you know the crypto, you've seen crypto punks? They're those little pixelated
sorry,
people.
That's
with all the different, they're funny because they're like one of the original NFTs. They were launched years ago, like in 2017 or 18, something like that. And the guy who did it, I think it was like a college project or it was just like a hobby project that he did, and they were free. He was like just experimenting with how to like place stuff on the blockchain. He was just kind of messing around to see, oh, like maybe in the future like, tokens will live in this type of way. And yeah, he released, I think there's 1,000 of them or 10,000 of them. And they were free. He just wanted to see like would people be interested in this type of art, and he just gave them away. And now they're worth millions of dollars. But part of the reason they're worth millions of dollars is because they're seen as being the original initial wave of NFTs. They're like, oh, this is foundational to this concept. So I kind of get that argument, but surely not like $5 million. Like surely that can't be correct. But anyway, here we are.
Crazy money. So with all of this money being pumped into the market, let's talk about how the NFT market is doing at the moment, because like a lot of things, it's down because like the stock market's down, crypto's down, NFTs are down as well. So sales of NFTs are actually for last month, so for June 2022, they totaled just over $1 billion, which is NFT's worst performance since last June 2021, when sales were only $648 million. And then when NFTs were kind of at its peak, was this January just gone, and they brought in like $12.6 billion in 1 month, and that was January. So they're really down.
Yeah. I mean, I've also seen, I know that there was a Wall Street Journal article, I think that came out last month, that was also talking about participation in NFT, the wallets that you need, because you have to have like a Solera wallet or an Ethereum wallet in order to buy these, because that's like the way that they're hosted on Ethereum blockchains. And there was data that came out that, according to Non-Fungible, which is a site apparently that keeps track of all this, the number of active wallets dropped by 40% between May and June of this year, and daily sales fell by 60%. So it does seem that, you know, some of the kind of eagerness and the excitement around this and the maybe in some ways desperation. Like, I think people really thought they were getting left behind of like the next
Yeah.
greatest investment trend. I think that has kind of worn away, which probably in terms of the sustainability of NFTs as an investment, or even NFTs as, you know, a concept as a type of art is good. You know, you don't want people to be buying these things in the absolute hypest of hype cycles.
Yeah, well, we're seeing that in the stock market as well. People are kind
Yeah.
of rotating into safer investments, which does make
Yeah.
sense as well because, you know, like we're heading into recession more than likely.
Yeah.
So, you know, these NFTs are super risky.
Yeah.
But do you see the NFT market coming back?
Maybe. The thing I always think about is I think the technology is really interesting.
Mhm.
Like the idea of digital scarcity, or the idea that you can make something, you know, unique and trackable within the
Mhm.
internet, is probably something that we will figure out a way to actually use in a
Mhm.
worthwhile sense. I remember we had a conversation a couple
Yeah.
months ago where I was like, why don't they do this for concert tickets? Because,
Mm.
you know, there's so much fraud in concert ticket sales, and then we have so many issues of
Yeah.
scalpers and people buying up dozens and dozens of tickets and then reselling them for, you know, 10 times the face value. But if
Yeah.
we existed, if
That's
like
true.
Ticketmaster was a marketplace in which we could watch all of the transactions happening, and we knew that the tickets were real because, you know, they existed on a blockchain, they couldn't be
Mhm.
faked, I think that was quite a reasonable
Yeah.
way to use an NFT. And then you'd like get to keep the ticket, I don't know, afterwards,
Mm.
and it would be, you know, like a digital souvenir. I think that's
Yeah.
like a way we could actually use the technology.
Mhm.
I think the current movement to me is really reminiscent of when I read about the tech bubble in the end of the 90s, in which like it was this big wave of all these companies showed up on the stock market and they just put internet in their IPO documentation, even if they weren't even remotely, you know, associated with the internet, because they knew
Yeah.
people were really excited. They were like, this is the cutting edge. But
Even if they
actually,
just used email.
yeah, but like very few businesses actually knew how to use the internet,
Yeah.
you know, to make money. Like think of Amazon. Amazon existed in the 90s, but think of how hard it would be to get Amazon to scale. You know, you have to find people to sell on the platform, you have to find ways to fulfill the orders, and then, you know, you're so limited by by internet access, because in
Mhm.
1999 not that many people had internet, or if they did have internet it was really slow, so I don't know how much
Mhm.
online shopping they'd be doing. But then
Mhm.
as internet access grew, the concept of Amazon became incredibly smart, so then it
Mhm.
did become this multi-trillion-dollar business coming into the 2000s. And I think that's where we are right now with NFTs. The technology has emerged and we think, well, that's interesting, that'll probably be on the cutting edge, we'll probably figure out something really important to do with that. But right now the use cases just haven't emerged because like
Mm.
governments aren't using them, big companies aren't using them. We just haven't like legitimized the idea, I think, yet. But I don't think they're going away. I think it'll just
Mhm.
be a couple years for us to figure out how we're properly going to use them.
Yeah. So actually, let's talk about some of the pros and cons of investing in stocks versus NFTs. So I guess what do you think is like the main pro and con?
Of NFTs,
Yeah. And
I think,
you said what they're tied to.
yeah, so I would say like the main, okay, so I like the idea that NFTs are tied to art, because I think that it
Mhm.
is really important, particularly in our society where like everybody needs money and everything is getting way more expensive. If you believe in
Mhm.
art and you know, believe in an artist, I think it's really important that you pay for their work.
Yeah.
And I think that NFTs have established a really nice way for artists to continue to enjoy monetary success if their work, you know, has this afterlife after they've made an initial sale. Because I think one of the saddest things is when an artist produces a piece of work and in 25 years is considered a really great piece of work and it's being sold for tens of millions of dollars, but they don't get a piece of that sale because they don't own the artwork anymore. I think
Mhm.
that concept within NFTs is really nice because it
Mhm.
will allow our economy to be more supportive of artists. The downside, the main con I would say for NFTs is that like they are not tied from an investment standpoint, they're not
Yeah.
tied to the economics of a business. You know, there is no
Mhm.
like financial fundamentals that you can go and check in on. You know, it's totally qualitative stuff. You know, it's entirely dependent upon what art is trendy right now. And
Yeah.
that changes all the time.
Mhm.
So, and it's not really something you can measure or predict. And
Mhm.
so from an investment point of view, I think it's too unstable because
Mhm.
you never know what's going to happen, which I guess suppose is why when we spoke to the artist several episodes ago, she was just like, oh, just buy art that you like so that even if it turns out to be worth
Yeah.
nothing, you still like it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so much easier for a person who, isn't involved in finance and has never been an investor
Mm.
before to say to them, do you believe Apple is still going to be around in 20 years? Or do you believe this artist is still going to be popular,
Yeah.
even next week? You
Yeah.
don't know like what's going to happen. So I think that's very important, this like difference, and it makes stock investing a lot safer. Obviously,
Mhm.
as well, the stock market has been around for so much longer as well.
Yeah.
So you can see like how a stock, has performed in the past, and also how that business has performed in the past. And then you can also see what their plans are for the future, like what products they're bringing out and all of that kind of stuff.
Mm.
So, yeah. And I guess the NFT market, as it has proven, it's highly volatile as well
Yeah. Oh
compared
yeah.
to, yeah, it's like the crypto market as well. Like
Mm.
it's made people millionaires very fast. It's people have lost a lot of money very quickly
Yeah.
as well. And you don't
Yeah.
really see that in the stock market other than the meme stock craze, I guess.
Yeah, but I also think, like, you mentioned the market there, how it's tied to crypto. We also, I don't think, in
Mm,
terms of the market, have like worked out all the kinks yet. I think like we think of the stock market as being very easy to enter and to buy stock in nowadays because we're like we have confidence in brokerages. But like we have read stories about, people having their crypto wallets hacked into and all their NFTs get stolen.
yeah.
I
Hmm.
don't think we are yet at a level that I even have full confidence in the system that I would be like, oh, I
Hmm.
really like this NFT, I'll buy it. I think I would still feel unsure of there's a tremendous amount of fraud that seems to happen. And
Yeah.
even like people like become fake artists and they try and generate hype around the artwork, and then so it all turns out to be a big fraud, and they were like, oh no, I was
Yeah.
just taking advantage of you, I'm going to take all this money and run off.
Mm.
So I think like a bit more regulation, I think, would help
Yeah.
people have confidence
Yeah.
in the format as well.
Yeah. Because when you think about the amount of regulation a company has to go through to, IPO to get
Oh yeah.
their company on the stock market, massive. Like it takes
Mhm.
such a long time. It's highly, highly regulated. But then we've even like saw stories about, artists that have like passed away, and then people are taking their artwork and turning them into NFTs, which is like horrible. Which,
Yeah.
like that's so like that's really sad for their family, their fans as well.
Yeah.
And that couldn't happen on the stock market, that kind of fraud.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a business, you're a real life thing, and then you've gone through all the
Mhm.
formalities to get your stock on the stock market. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's definitely, as you said, there's kinks, and it's so early that it's just it's just really like risky, I guess. But I do think like if you are like really, really interested in art, it's, it can be a safer investment because you might be already, chatting to NFT communities. That might be like a large part of your day is talking to other artists and researching them. You can make money that way. But
Yeah.
I do like, even the way Alex was saying in our interview, like she spends so much time like interacting with her like fans and following other artists' journey. So when she
Mhm.
makes an investment, she's a lot more confident. Whereas that's a lot of work if you're not in
Yeah.
that world.
Yeah. It definitely needs
Mhm.
to be a passion project, I think.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. So then, what you've done a lot of like research into the feminization of NFTs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was kind of something I looked at in terms of how they're being marketed and how they're being commodified, I guess you could say. And
Mhm.
I'm always really interested in how people get into NFTs. Do you know what I mean? Like
Mm.
it always there are always people who like NFTs and people who have never heard of NFTs. And I was like, how do we get from one to the other? And so one of the concepts that I started to notice emerging about 6 months ago was NFTs were entering the mainstream via celebrities and influencers.
Mhm.
And I think one of the biggest stories maybe to talk about was Justin Bieber showed up on Jimmy Fallon's show on the Tonight Show a couple months ago after he had bought a Bored Ape, and Jimmy Fallon also owns a Bored Ape, and Bieber had bought Bored Ape number 3001 for $1.2 million, which
Wow.
is insane. And then he was like promptly roasted by the Bored Ape NFT community because they were like, that ape doesn't have any rare features, so he shouldn't be worth 1.2 million, because I like
That's the
NFTs and
only reason.
yeah, NFTs and a lot of these communities, they're kind of like Pokemon cards, right? You want the one with the like
Yeah.
with the rarest attribute. He needs to be the most special, and apparently like 3001 was not the ape. But also around that same time, we saw another group wade into the NFT crypto space. And it kind of was when I wasn't exactly expecting. It was like Hollywood's most powerful women. So overnight, we saw Reese Witherspoon, Brie Larson, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Eva Longoria change their Twitter icons to NFTs from a collection called the Flower Girls. And this collection is 10,000 unique NFTs that were launched by an artist called Vivara Alay. And it, from its initial launch, generated more than $15 million. And I think part of the reason that a lot of these big names were attracted is the NFT collection promised to donate 20% of its profits to charity, but it also was very upfront about labeling itself as a feminist NFT. So all of the artwork is like women, and then it's like they're all in association with nature. So they all have like various different types of flower crowns or different backgrounds or different, some of them are like dressed up like fairies and stuff like that. And this is an issue, I suppose, because apparently only 5% of NFT creators are women. So these female celebrities, when they, began changing their Twitter icons or talking about the collection, they were framing it like we're trying to promote equality in the NFT space, which I suppose is noble. Like, you don't want women getting left behind in any kind of, market. But I solely saw it as like any new age marketing campaign before it, that it was just like a company or a concept or an NFT collection like feminizing itself in an attempt to persuade everyday women to spend their money to increase the value of these things, right? Because obviously they want to create demand because it means everybody's NFTs are worth more money. But I'm always like, but all these rich and powerful women already own these NFTs, which means they're just going to make more money by pushing more regular people to look at them. So I was just, I don't know, it gives me the ick a bit. I'm kind of like, you're using feminism to make money. I was like, I don't think I like that. So
red flag.
It is a red flag. And so I do think it's worth, exploring and discussing like what branding and community and celebrity endorsements look like in the NFT community, because I think that's really important for how NFTs gain the perception of value. And I think it's like a little bit corrupt, and I think it means that many of these digital assets, their perception of being worth anything is very delicate, and I think that means that there will inevitably be a crash. I think we might already be in a crash, as we were previously discussing. Yeah. And so I then kind of dove in and was like, hey, I want to see how people end up wanting to buy an NFT, right? So, okay, we saw Reese Witherspoon. She bought an NFT. Maybe I'm like, oh, I'm interested. I like Reese Witherspoon.
Yeah.
So you go and you have a look. So I then joined the Flower Girl Discord channel because I wanted to see like what people who own these things or people who want to own these things, what they talk about. And that made me realize that the community aspect of NFTs creates like an obsessive behavior, because you essentially enter a digital echo chamber where everyone around you is talking about these NFTs nonstop, and they're encouraging you to buy, and they're saying, oh, like prices just went down, so you should pick up one now. Like they're all very obsessed, but obviously they're all obsessed because they already own NFTs. And by bringing more people into the community, they make more money. It's like a pyramid scheme. And I thought that was kind of something we'd not talked about in relation to NFTs.
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, the pyramid scheme thing. Off topic, did you see that Andrew Tate, who's also gone viral on social media, he's literally gone viral by creating a pyramid scheme. So he sells his course, and all of his course is that you like chop up pieces of his podcast interviews and you share them on social media, and then you try get other people to buy the course as well. So if you get someone to buy your course and buy a course from you, you get 50% of the revenue. But all it is just to get him more famous. So it's kind of like that. Like it's really weird. Like, like people are doing that with NFTs to bring them in, and then they know that they'll make money from it. Like it's a bit of a longer stretch, but I thought that Andrew Tate story was crazy.
No, it's very similar because I think the internet and social media has kind of made people realize that fame is such a commodity. Like fame is worth money, particularly with the amount of money that influencers seem to be making these days. And I think NFTs are exactly the same. You want popularity, you want attention, you want eyeballs, you want fame, because it means you will be worth more money. Your asset is worth more if people want it. Yeah. And so it does just set up these kind of digital assets to want to build these communities and want this attention. They want these famous people to be involved. And
I think as well, like the community aspect online is like in the way as we move more online, like internet communities are just growing so popular. So it does kind of fit into that. And even like, in if you're an NFT in that community, you can like hide your identity, you can be whoever you want, like if you want to escape reality by going into these discords, you can be whoever like you want. And like I actually it's a funny story. I've only like started using Discord because I watch Love Island on it now. And like these people are like best friends with these like people they've never met before, but every night at 9 o'clock they go into Discord and they like just chat with them. And all of their profile pictures are like avatars, like that, like you know what I mean? And they have like these cool names. But like they're all just people from like the UK and like Europe who, aren't living in, like or wherever they are. They just can't like they'd rather watch it on Discord. And it, like that's my first like view of it. And I remember you said you went in and watched people when you were seeing people watch stuff together. I think that is it. Like it's people want to feel at home somewhere online now.
It's a community, which arguably, like for anyone who's never been on a Discord before, it looks like a really unsophisticated blog. Like there's very poor visuals. Like it's all just writing stuff. And I think when people imagine a metaverse, they're thinking like The Sims, like we'll all have little avatars and it'll be very interactive and like built up. But I would actually argue that like Discord is the metaverse now. Like people are living online in these little worlds that they construct, so they can go and find a Discord channel dedicated to something they're obsessed with, and they can live on there. Basically, they can form social relationships, sometimes parasocial relationships. And it's very interesting, but it does create these communities that are so intense and concentrated around a single topic, in this case NFTs, which are then like that translates into money. And that translates into like how these things become worth more, which then makes them into investments, I suppose. And that's where I get a bit, I don't know, like they incentivize people to participate for such a long period of time, and they incentivize them to hold through downturns in a way that is so brilliant. But also I'm always like, surely this is corrupt. So for example, like these Flower Girl NFTs, right? If you bought during the initial wave, you got all these like bonuses. You got like a mini NFT for free. And then the Flower Girls are going on a journey, right? Like that's the thing. They're always checking in to see where their Flower Girl is. They're on their way to Venus, I think. It's something like that, because like women are from Venus and men are from Mars. Have you ever heard that saying?
Yeah.
So the Flower Girls are on the way there, and the longer that you hold your NFT along this journey, you get extra NFT things, or your NFT will crossbreed with somebody else's NFT to create a rare, super rare off-breed NFT, because they want to keep people interested the whole time. You don't just want people interested during the initial release. You need these people to be consistently re-engaged with their community, so that these things can have a really long shelf life and maybe become, like the next CryptoPunks. And it's just very interesting to watch people participate in it over such a long period of time. But I just get worried because there is such an in-group and out-group way of thinking in these things. And what I mean by that is people who know nothing about NFTs very happily like, I know nothing. I don't care about it. I don't want to get involved. I don't want to buy one. And then people who are in NFTs are like, oh my God, guys, like this is so great. And we need to buy as soon as possible because I need to get my Flower Girl on the way to Venus and something. And then they're just surrounded by other people thinking that way. And then they obviously are never going to listen to someone from the out group being like, hey, like maybe you shouldn't be spending this much money on this digital asset, because they're surrounded by all these yes men. And it makes me worry even more about NFTs as investments, because there's just so little logic, maybe is the way to say it. Like just so little kind of critical thinking about how things are actually worth anything.
Yeah. So in conclusion, be safe out there, folks.
Yeah, and I do think here it is worth saying, I suppose. So like I am after just bashing on like Reese Witherspoon and all, and like Gwyneth Paltrow, who to be honest, I expected Gwyneth Paltrow to be somehow involved in murky crypto deals, because she seems to have no standards, to be honest. Like I think she would sell anything. But I was a bit disappointed in Reese Witherspoon, but it is worth saying.
Yeah, she seems nice.
Yeah, but it is worth saying that some celebs are not on board with this, because when the last Matrix film came out, the production company that made it, they minted 100,000 NFT collectibles and started selling them to fans. And I saw an interview where they asked Keanu Reeves about it, and they were like, hey, like, did you see there was a huge wait list for your NFTs? And he outwardly laughed out loud and then basically was like, I don't believe in the concept of digital scarcity. And he said that like NFTs can be very easily reproduced. So obviously he was very skeptical and wasn't willing to hop on board the NFT train. So it seems like some people are still thinking about it in this way. And I think the big takeaway for me, to be honest, from doing all this research and having a look at NFTs through this lens, is that if they are going to be considered an investment, as they so often are promoted as, whereas I think we are quite comfortable with the concept of them being, you know, a way to host art. I think that's fine. Mm-hmm. But if we're going to view them as an investment, they need to be regulated, because in no world would a celebrity be allowed to get up in front of, you know, the entire nation on the Tonight Show and say, I'm buying Apple stock. I'm buying so much Apple stock. I'm putting $1.2 million into Apple stock. You should buy Apple stock. Oh, Jimmy, you also own Apple stock. Isn't Apple stock great? That's illegal. You can't do that. So I don't understand how NFTs are allowed to kind of skirt this form of regulation. And I will be interested to see if it comes in the future. That being said, like, the art market has never really been regulated in that way. So they might get away with it. But just
what you said about Justin Bieber and Jimmy Fallon, though, is that not what we just did about Costco?
But it's Costco, which is acceptable. Well, sure, I don't get any monetary benefit if you buy Costco. I do own Costco stock. Wow, yeah. So maybe don't.
But we didn't say how much we put into it.
Yeah, I guess. Like, I don't think, like, we're not the CEO of Costco, but yeah, I suppose. No. Like, that is why we're not allowed to give financial advice.
Yeah. # not financial advice.
Yeah. I don't think I ever uttered the words buy Costco stock.
No, I'm only messing. All
right.
So then, who is our girl boss of the week?
Oh, I think it's very obvious at this point. It's Reese Witherspoon, it's Matt Damon, it's Larry David, it's Gwyneth Paltrow. It's all these celebrities who are out there making, you know, commercials for crypto.com, or promoting NFTs on their social medias and pushing people towards, you know, this medium when they haven't done any research and they don't know anything about it. And yeah, I think that's fair enough. There's a long list. Like, there are plenty of celebrities involved. I know a lot of sports people are involved in NFTs as well. There was a huge backlash about that in England recently, with Premier League players being involved. So yeah, I'm also particularly mad at Matt Damon, because he was in that ridiculous cryptocurrency ad where he utters the quote where he's like, "Oh, fortune favors the brave." I think that's so ridiculous. Like, that's just rude to people, to be honest. So there are many girl bosses of the week.
And you also said, I remember before, that all these people have been very quiet since NFTs are crashing as well, which
the New York Times,
they're not out here helping people get through it.
No, the New York Times wrote an article last month where they tried to contact Reese Witherspoon, Matt Damon, to get comment being like, oh, you know, many crypto platforms are having trouble, all these currencies are down, and none of them would respond for comment. So you have to remember, these people get paid to do this. Like, Matt Damon gets paid to show up in that commercial. I guarantee Reese Witherspoon is being paid to buy those NFTs. And if she's not, she's being given the NFTs for free, which means, of course, she wants the value of them to go up. That's how she's getting paid, because we have no regulation.
You got to have regulation, folks.
Have to have regulation. So there we go.
Okay. So that's a wrap. Thanks so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed.
If you enjoyed this episode, tune back in 2 weeks' time, when we will be talking about how to build your own stock portfolio.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that one. And if you want to follow us on socials, please do. You can find us on Instagram at Fun My Life Podcast, or on Twitter at MyWallSt HQ, and on TikTok either at MyWallSt or at Marie and Nicole FML.
That one's a bit of a mouthful. And finally, if you're ready to start your investing journey and are looking for resources, check out MyWallSt's Getting Started podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts, or download the MyWallSt Learn app. Both are linked below. If you want access to our list of stocks handpicked by our analysts and lots of other interesting finance and business content, download the MyWallSt app and create a free account today.
That's all from us here at FML. Hope you enjoyed listening. Bye.